I'd like to bring up Hayden and Jameis to talk about Uniswap Labs, the next chapter in NFTs. This will be a fireside chat. Gentlemen, come on up. You have our attention. We are ready for you.
How's it going? This is going to be a lot of fun. I hope everyone is having a good NFT.NYC. These weeks are always crazy and ridiculous and over the top. I feel very honored to be interviewing Hayden today. He's obviously the end-all, be-all, Mount Rushmore, Lord and Savior of crypto. I think everyone here knows Uniswap very well. A little bit of a background on myself. Maybe provide some context as to why I am going to be the interviewee, or rather interviewer. I've been in the space for a long time. I participated in the Ethereum crowd sale back in 2014, luckily enough. I kind of went full-time in 2018, right as it was all exploding. And I run a fund called Perceptive, but most famous for being the chief pleasing officer of Pleaser DAO, which is a weird collective of degens, apes, NFT protocol engineers, artists, mathematicians, that was formed to buy a Uniswap v3 NFT that they released to commemorate Uniswap v3. But that is not why we're here today. We are here to talk about Uniswap's announced migration to Ripple. Now, I'm sure most of you heard yesterday that Uniswap announced that they are acquiring Genie, which is a NFT order router. I'm sure some of you have used it before, or one of its competitors. And so, very honored to be able to interview you, and I'm excited that you can all talk to Hayden. Walk us through your thought process, yourself and Uniswap, and why you decided to kind of migrate and move into the NFT space. Being a fungibles automated market maker, you're very known for something different than NFTs. So walk us through your thought process.
Of course, and thanks for the introduction. And also, really excited to be here at NFT.NYC. So, Uniswap is best known for being the primary decentralized exchange for ERC20 tokens. Today we recently crossed $1 trillion in total volume.
It's insane.
And I think the thing that excites me about DeFi, Web3, and ERC20 tokens in the first place is the potential and power of decentralization and digital ownership, and the idea that people can truly own what they own, and the idea of bringing value. Right, because to me, Web3 is the next version of the internet, where the previous version of the internet was all about democratizing access to information. And it was built on top of all these standard protocols for sharing information. So HTTPS for websites, and SMTP for emails. And the internet helped really increase the flow of information. And to me, Web3 and tokenization is about bringing value and ownership into the internet, and increasing access and democratizing access to ownership. And there's a lot of different types of value. I'd say another thing is that before currently the way that different assets exist, they all exist in very different siloed ecosystems, and they all use very different infrastructure. So currencies, stocks, hotel rewards points, and video game items, they all exist in siloed, completely different infrastructure. And a lot of them don't have access to financial markets or exchanges, or the ability to transfer something. And so to me, the thing that excited me about ERC20 tokens in the first place is their power for unlocking ownership. And to me, NFTs is another form of that, where there's essentially two forms of value that are popular today in the space. There's fungible value and there's non-fungible value, and they're both part of this broader story of digital ownership. And I think right now, again, they're viewed as two very separate worlds and two very separate communities and ecosystems. But I don't think that's how it's going to be a few years out. I think that there's a lot of overlap across them, and there's going to be a lot of sort of shared experiences. They're both going to be very like social, community-oriented things that are built into the internet. And so, what we're really excited about with getting into the NFT space is starting to explore the frontier of combining the two into similar interfaces and using them for similar things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to add to that, I don't think it takes very long, before you start to realize when you click Connect Wallet, you bring your entire presence with you, and then you meet other people based off of their wallets. People reach out to you based off the contents of what is inside of your wallet, and you begin to feel like, oh, my identity is not enclosed inside of this walled garden of Web 2. Even archaic things things are quickly becoming archaic, like resumes and credit scores, and slowly I think that your identity is going to be built upon your on-chain assets, both non-fungible and fungible. I've been offered multiple jobs based off my DGen score, right, which is an on-chain record of my activity. Or maybe, Vitalik soul bond tokens is a very interesting concept where you build this reputation and can kind of transit through this ethereal space. Let's get a little bit more into Genie. So, a few months back, there was a very interesting move to attempt to vampire attack OpenSea. LooksRare was trying to drive liquidity onto their marketplace. We've seen other order routers like Gem, very similar to Genie, which was acquired by OpenSea. Lots of people have been talking about different methods for drawing in this liquidity and being the actual de facto marketplace. And Uniswap has always been known to be kind of the base layer of exchange, right? It's the ultimate money Lego that plugs into all other DeFi protocols, whereas Genie is more of an order router. And I'm sure Uniswap has this grand plan of how to integrate the team and the protocol and the next steps. But walk us through your thoughts around liquidity, how Genie will integrate, anything that you feel comfortable discussing there.
Yeah, for sure. So to start, the Uniswap protocol is certainly like the low-level liquidity protocol for fungibles. But the Uniswap interface in the web app is actually more of, it has a whole layer of routing built on top of Uniswap, and is more about making that underlying liquidity a lot more accessible and usable. And definitely, coming into the NFT space, first, to start, I think that, something that's kind of interesting in the NFT world is that, there's a lot of different liquidity protocols that exist for fungibles, but, whichever exchange you go to, they have the same assets. But for non-fungibles, I'm personally expecting the non-fungible world to be a lot more fragmented, and it isn't today. But I think that there'll be a lot. You might list an NFT on one marketplace and not another, versus like something like ETH and USDC are going to be on all the different exchanges. So I think that in general there's going to be a lot of different marketplaces for NFTs, and the reason that we're so excited to work with Genie is the vision of kind of building it into our web app. The platform where we're trying to make it really digital ownership extremely accessible, and letting people basically explore the entire world of NFTs and be able to buy them, not worrying about which marketplace they're on.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've experienced the liquidity fragmentation, obviously, with different NFT marketplaces. It's almost very akin to like a liquidity fragmentation between L2 and L1 for fungibles, but very interesting approach. One other thing that I find very interesting about the Genie acquisition is, to the best of my knowledge, this will be the first time that a protocol is going to do a USDC-based airdrop to former users, right? Pretty wild. I was in the DGen Score Citadel chat yesterday, and it became a meme that everyone was just posting USDC ? USDC. Yeah, so people are very fascinated by this airdrop. Tell us about it.
Yeah, for sure. So some context is when we acquired. First off, I'm going to mention, you said first time a protocol is acquired. No protocol has acquired anyone. We're Uniswap Labs is a company, and then there's the Uniswap protocol and governance system.
My bad.
So there's definitely that distinction there. And so Uniswap Labs, the company, acquired Genie, And there's this idea of that came out of the world of Web3 about sharing some of the value, a lot of value that's created today or at least in Web 2 and in existing financial institutions, doesn't really go to the users who help make projects and platforms successful in the first case. And so, when we acquired, Genie, basically, we wanted to make sure that the early Genie community members and supporters and users who helped make it successful were rewarded. And essentially to share in some of the economics of the acquisition, because we were saying not only are we acquiring Genie the company, we want to acquire the users and we want to reward the users. And if the company is getting a payout for as part of the acquisition, so should the early users. And so a lot of the deal was denominated in US dollars, and so airdropping USDC to the Genie community seemed to make sense. The Genie protocol didn't have its own token, so.
Absolutely. I remember when you told me about the news, I was like, shit, did I use Genie? I think I did. I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. Cool. Anything else you'd like to add about Genie, or we can kind of talk about anything in particular?
Yeah, for sure. So I'd say that this isn't, I guess the way that, again, to go back to the point I made earlier around, trying to bring the experiences closer together, I think that that's really, a big part of what this is all about, is not just now you can access tokens and NFTs in the Uniswap web app, which you will be able to, and we are very excited about that. But, there might be more kind of exciting combined experiences as well, right?
All right.
Well,
All right.
I mean, there's really simple examples, which is one simple example is, when you buy an NFT, being able to pay in any token you want, right? And having it, the token side route through Uniswap and the NFT side route through Genie. Another kind of simple example would be if you were to go to the Bored Apes NFT page, being able to buy the token, the ERC20 token from in that same sort of unified experience.
Right. Okay.
So those are some simple ones, but then I think from there, definitely there's a lot of there's a very exciting frontier to explore. I don't know how much I can get into all. Yeah.
Give us your secrets, Hayden.
No,
it's the alpha.
I mean, one thing I'll say is that just in general, the same way that the internet was about communities and social elements and bringing people together and discovering I think that we're just like really early on in the world where in the world of both NFTs and tokens, and there's like just a huge amount of room for innovation. I think I'm zooming out and going to be really abstract here.
That's fine. In the last few minutes that we have, let's talk a little bit about the fun history that Uniswap actually does have with NFTs. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that you are wearing Unisox right now, the famous Unisox. I think it was born out of Hack.NY 2019, summer 2019. I was there. I did not meet you, and I did not buy any Unisox, so I am very sad about that. And most people don't even associate it with an NFT, but the process is, it's an ERC20 token with a fluctuating price, with price discovery. But if you burn 1.0 of the token, you get a physical pair of socks, and you also get an NFT. And I think there was something like 500 in circulation. Super early NFT exploration. I've been recently going through a lot of the contracts, and it was a little tricky. I'm not even sure if it's like the most modern standard. Also, Unisox was banned at one point from OpenSea, and Unisox is still traded on V1 of Uniswap. Yeah, anything you want to share about the history of Unisox?
Yeah, so I think one funny thing about Unisox is, I launched Uniswap V1 in November 2018. This was back when it was just me. I had been working with contractors and friends and stuff, but for the first 3 or 4 months after that, it was still just me. And when there was a bug, I couldn't fix it. There was no ability to continue developing, and so I raised the seed round in spring 2019 from Paradigm. And I hired 2 people to start. It was a designer and a full stack developer who could do front end and smart contracts. And the first thing, the very first project after we did a little bit of code cleanup that I asked them to work on was Unisox. Not the second version of the protocol. I was like, no, we're going to tokenize socks, and we're going to put them on Uniswap. And I think that they both thought I was a little bit crazy at the time, and maybe I was.
Yeah. The price of Unisox fluctuated between 20, 40, 60, 10. At some point, it hit mimetic escape velocity and was at one point $150,000 per Unisoc. It's very legendary. I think we are running out of time, but would you like to end with maybe your favorite NFT?
My favorite NFT.
I didn't tell you I was going to ask you that beforehand.
Oh, no.
Put you on the spot a little bit.
Let's see. I mean, I like the Unisox.
Yeah.
My personal favorite NFT is actually the first. So when we launched Uniswap v3, because we had moved to this concentrated liquidity model, we had to have NFTs backing them instead of ERC20 tokens. And we wanted to take it the extra mile, and so we did I think it was actually maybe the first on-chain generative SVG smart contract for the Uniswap v3 launch. And I basically got to claim the very first Uniswap v3 position, position number 1. So I think that that's probably my personal favorite NFT that I have.
Yeah, that's also my personal favorite. Will you please send it over anytime?
No.
Cool.
He has tried to buy it from me.
I have tried to buy it from him. That is true. I think we got to wrap, but thank you, everyone, and thank you, Hayden, for talking to us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hayden. Thank you, Jameis. Thank you so much.